In most games of Overwatch, people are always talking about what are the meta heroes. People ask about what's the best DPS, support, or tank in this current meta, and they want to adhere to it over and over again. If you go outside the little boxes of the meta, you'll often get people telling you to swap off or change characters altogether to something more meta. That being said, I think there's tons of characters that are actually underplayed, and if you could learn when to whip these characters out, and you put in enough time and effort into mastering these characters, you can get secretly broken heroes, winning you actually tons of SR this season. With all that being said, let's jump right into the top 7 secretly broken heroes. Let's kick it right off with the number 7 on our list. For this character, we have a hero that actually can win tons of games. Many metas are entirely built around her at the highest level, but she doesn't get enough credit or playtime appropriate to how powerful she is. It's Farah. Now, Farah is very powerful for a number of reasons. Firstly, Farah is incredibly powerful at bullying a lot of different tanks and supports. The only thing that can really contest a Farah are hit scan characters, and even those, if played correctly, Farah can be a nightmare. Because at its core, everyone knows how powerful mobility is. Tracer Blink, Genji Dash, Hanzo Wall Run, these things are incredibly powerful, but Farah has the ultimate mobility. She has vertical mobility, and if you master her concussion blast, she has pretty strong horizontal mobility as well. If you learn how to use natural cover, dive bomb enemies, displace them with concussion blasts, and hit direct rockets, Farah can be this unstoppable force that you can whip out on tons of different points. On top of that, Farah is the perfect thing to swap to when you're trying to break through a checkpoint. You can easily identify if the enemy team has a hit scan, and if they don't, you can go back and spawn, swap to Farah, and start farming their team pretty much uncontested. A Farah with even a little bit of heal like an Ana or Zen doesn't even need a mercy and can still put tons of value into the enemy team by shooting these long distance rockets that have no fall off. Now, even if they do have a hit scan, if you can learn how to use natural cover, dive bomb enemies, and become more mechanically honed at playing Farah, you can still get value. It becomes a mini game per se, where if you can threaten the enemy hit scan, or if your team can threaten the enemy hit scan, and they're removed from the board, it goes right back to the scenario where you have an uncontested Farah that can rain down. Farah is way too powerful to see so little play. Honestly, Farah can get tons of value at any rank. Definitely don't be afraid to whip her out and put some time in, practice her, and you'll get tons of easy wins with this character. Now let's move on to number 6 on our list. This character is Symmetra. Now I know what many of you might be thinking. Symmetra, really? She's that powerful? Honestly, Symmetra is insanely powerful, and I'm going to break down some of the big reasons why. Now there's actually tons of scenarios where you can whip out Symmetra and get tons of free point wins and get a lot of free value and sometimes even snowball incredibly well. Let me explain. Think of something like Hanamura First Attack. If you can teleport your whole team on point, a lot of times you'll get a free tick if enemies weren't prepared for you, and even if you don't, usually in the transition you manage to get 1 or 2 picks that can catch the enemy off guard, giving you a free first point. Symmetra can do stuff like that, and if you can try to coordinate certain amount of routing or set up flank plays with even one other person, Symmetra's teleport ability can be very powerful. Now on 2 CP points on defense, you can use Symmetra's teleport to get your team back to the action, and that could be something that's very powerful to allow you and your team to stagger out a point, getting tons of time, or just simply regrouping to get a full team fight. Now lastly, what we need to be talking about on Symmetra is her wall, and this is one of the biggest reasons in my opinion that you should be playing Symmetra. Honestly, Symmetra's wall is probably one of the most powerful singular ultimates in the entire game. With Symmetra's wall alone, coupled with you pushing in as a team, it can be so problematic for the enemy. You can cut off tons of lines of sight, and if the enemy aren't playing things that have close range damage like Doomfist, Mei, or Reaper, the wall can single-handedly shut them out. They're playing things like Hanzo, Kree, Soldier. Symmetra's wall can just shut all those damages out, and you can also protect yourself against many of the tanks like Orisa and all the spam from Baptiste, Zen, and Sigma. So Symmetra is very powerful because let's say something like Hanamura, in the first fight, you could teleport in, get a free fight win, build your ultimate up, and then in the second fight, you can use your wall as a way to create space, go straight into point, and shut off a lot of the enemy's ability to get value, and you can win a point outright. This is why Symmetra is actually secretly broken. Now let's move on to the number 5 on our list, and this is Zarya. Now many of you might be thinking, Zarya, really? She's not that good. Zarya is terrible in this meta. You might think that, but Zarya is specifically broken for many of the lower ranks. If you're in low masters or below, Zarya can be a complete carry, and let me explain why. Because of how easy it is to track on Zarya these days, if you get high energy, you can easily bully enemy Sigmas, you can bully other DPS and get tons of picks. On top of that, things like Doomfist, Reaper, or people trying to be aggressive, Zarya bubble can get a lot of value. Zarya could get people out of blizzards, save people from pooled dragons, or even protect people from gravitic fluxes by enemy sigmas. There's a lot of utility that comes with Zarya, and if you can learn how to get high energy and maintain it, you can really bully a lot of the predominant tank line. Now, if the enemies start playing meta like Orisa in each and every game, it could be problematic for Zarya, sure, but for the vast majority of ranks, you can definitely bully enemies on Zarya if you learn this simple thing. And I know a lot of you tank players, particularly at the low ranks, feel like you have no control over your wins and losses. I'm telling you, if you put in the time and effort into Zarya, you could easily climb yourself to diamond or above. Zarya is one of the hardest carry tanks in the game right now for low ranks, and I think she's vastly underplayed. So you could be playing something like Orisa or Ryan, but if you want to have more control over your wins and losses, particularly at the low ranks, definitely don't be afraid to put some time and effort into grinding Zarya. It'll make you a better player, and you can hard carry all your trash teammates in the process. Now let's move on to number 4 on the list, secretly broken heroes. Number 4 is actually Sombra, and Sombra is incredibly powerful for a number of reasons, but the reason that she's on this list is that she's the best defensive based hero. But before I get to explaining that, I really need to tell you about GameLeap.com. I'm gonna keep it short and sweet, but GameLeap.com is the #1 educational Overwatch platform online, and I'm gonna break it down for you more later, but for now, enjoy the rest of the video. Now, I know that many people don't play Sombra in ranked, especially at the lower ranks, because Sombra needs a lot of teamwork and cohesion. You want to hack a target and get focus fire. And this is true, and this is something that doesn't work that much in ranked play. However, there is a way to get value out of Sombra in each and every situation. The way to get value out of Sombra is by playing her defensively. Set up traps in situations where you wait for enemies. Enemy Doomfist, enemy Reapers, enemy Genjis, Tracers. There's all kinds of characters that you can wait for them. Set up a trap where you hack them as they come in. Then they're stuck in your backline with no abilities. Easy focus fire, even if it's just from you. Sombra can be very powerful at getting those Smurf Doomfists off your supports. Getting those Smurf Reapers to stop them from bullying your tanks. Sombra can be this great character where you don't even need that much skill to play a defensive style of her. And she can secretly just win you tons of games. You don't even have to do anything besides wait for the hack, force enemies off some of their best heroes, and then all of a sudden they have to swap off to something and they're not destroying your backline. Now, let's move on to number 3. Speaking of destroying your backline and ways to stop it, the number 3rd secretly broken hero on our list is actually Brig. And the reason that Brig is on this list is armor in general is so much more powerful than it has been in the past, and Brig just feels dominant to play against sometimes. If you go up against a Brig that's constantly alive, constantly getting these huge rallies, she can completely shut off a lot of lines of play. Brig lets your team brawl, and that's something that's really important. If you're playing a Reaper, you're playing a Rhine, you want to get close to the enemy. Brig is so good at enabling that strategy. Because of the armor it gives to her teammates, a lot of characters that want to burst down enemies can't do it fast enough. I mean, honestly, if you're playing something like a Reaper and you have armor and the enemy doesn't have armor, they could be a Tracer, they could be a Doomfist, they could be another Reaper. You have such a leg up, and Brig allows you to do this. If you can learn how to trigger Inspire constantly, play safe, keep triggering Inspire through your whip shot and just your primary fire, heal up your allies with Inspire, and then getting these giant rallies, you're gonna win tons more games. Knowing when you can be aggressive and learning how to use your bash to your maximum effectiveness, stunning ultimates, tracking ultimates, Brig can be a complete monster, and I can't tell you how frustrating it is to play against a good Brig. I feel like they shut me down again and again. Brig has so many powerful tools at her disposal, and if you want to hard carry a lot of games and you don't want to get bullied yourself, Brig is the one who bullies. And if you're ever getting bullied or farmed, definitely don't be afraid to swap to Brig. She is not hard to play, but she brings so much value to the table. Now, let's move on to number 2, a DPS that's secretly broken, and this is Tracer. Now, I know what a lot of y'all are saying. You just said play Brig. What are you talking about? Tracer? Tracer secretly broken? Yeah, Tracer is secretly broken, and let me explain why. So, if we're talking specifically about the supports and the tanks that are meta right now, there's Sigma, Orisa, Zen, Baptiste. The 2 support lineups can actually be threatened by Tracer incredibly well. Zen, of course, his natural predator is Tracer. Tracer can blink all around him, put tons of pressure into him. And as far as Baptiste, Tracer is one of the few characters that can go around natural cover and shoot down Immortality Field. If you can put in enough pressure on the Baptiste to bait out Immortality Field and then pressure his Tracer, that's a lot of value, and that can give your teammates the leg up. As far as things like Sig and Orisa, those characters can't really touch a Tracer that has good movement and learns how to play around them. Now, a tip for you if you're going in at a Baptiste, wait for the Baptiste to use his exit boots. It allows allows you to easily track him as he goes up and down. And if you have an Orisa, look to combo your pulse bomb with an Orisa pull. This ensures a lot of damage out of your pulse bomb and usually ends up in multiple picks, or you bait out immortality field and the enemy is low so you could follow up. Tracer is definitely really powerful. Now, if the enemy swaps to something that counters you like Hanzo, Brig, or multiple counters, then you could definitely swap off a Tracer. But the fact of the matter is, if the enemy is playing something traditional, Tracer can get value, and if you put in the time and effort, especially at low ranks, Tracer is severely underplayed in my opinion, because she has a lot of pound for pound value. Individually, if you want to hard carry your team, Tracer is definitely a character that you can do that on. Speaking of hard carrying your team, we're going to move on to the #1 secretly broken DPS hero on this entire list, and it's Widowmaker. I know Hanzo gets a lot of the glory, and don't get me wrong, Hanzo, Mei, Doomfist, all these characters are great, and I'm not including them on the list because it's obvious that they're great. What I'm including on the list are characters that I think don't see enough play, and Widowmaker is definitely one of those characters. Widowmaker is still insanely powerful, especially flanking on Widowmaker against double shield. You can get 1 or 2 picks easily if you get a cool flank angle, especially when people think they're behind natural cover. They don't tend to dodge that much, and honestly, the Zen and Baptiste hitboxes are not that hard to hit. You can threaten these characters, you can do a lot of damage to them, and really get some value picks as Widowmaker. On top of that, a Widowmaker can still challenge a Hanzo, put pressure into a Mei. There's a lot of different things that Widowmaker brings to the table, and especially right now in the map pool. Think about maps that are in the map pool right now. Widowmaker is so good on Havana. Widowmaker is so good on Nubani. Widowmaker is so good on Dorado. There's so many really valuable Widowmaker maps right now, and if you want to win some free points, play Widowmaker because she gets these really long sight lines, and she could pressure the enemy from a completely safe position, especially with Hanzo's nerf, his arc. It's a lot harder for Hanzo to hit those long distance shots, so if you play at max range, you actually can win more of these 1v1s, which is incredibly powerful. Now, the thing on everyone's mind is Hammond. Wrecking Ball is the big character that everyone's afraid of when they're playing Widowmaker. If you have a pocket, or if you have another DPS that can peel for you, you could still play Widowmaker. Maybe your other DPS could be something like a Sombra. Even something like a Brig can flail shot the ball, stun the ball, give you armor pack, do all these things that can keep you alive long enough to where you don't get farmed by the ball. And if you have a Mercy Pocket, then that ball really can't do anything to you, can't burst you down, and you can almost completely ignore the ball because honestly the ball's not going to be threatening you in any way. So this is my top list for the top 7 broken heroes. These are extremely underrated heroes, I think, and I don't think they get the proper playtime. Now, not every character on this list is going to be viable at every rank, but particularly for the lower ranks, you should definitely not be afraid to whip out any of these characters in the situations that I laid out for you. Some of these characters can really just bring tons of value just by playing the character. I mean, Farah, Symmetra, Brig, Sombra, these characters, you don't even need that much practice on these characters to get tons of value, win tons of points, yet no one's picking them. The pick rates are dry and they need more playtime because they bring so much free value to the table. And I definitely want you to be winning more games of Overwatch overall, especially when you don't even have to try for it. That makes it all the sweeter. But all that being said, you might be asking, how can I master these characters super easily? Some of these characters need some nuance. Some of these characters need some practice. I'll tell you what you need to do. You need to head on over to GameLeap.com. You need to go check out our Farah, Symmetra, Zarya, Sombra, Brig, Tracer, Widowmaker sections. These sections are extremely in-depth. We have in-depth advanced tips, VOD reviews, everything you need to master these characters extremely quickly so that you can start getting these free wins, dominating your opposition, and you don't even have to take my word for it. We offer a 10-day money-back guarantee, so come check us out risk-free in the links here. Anyways, I hope this guide has been extremely helpful for you. Any questions, please leave them in the comments down below, as well as any characters that are your secretly broken heroes. I know sometimes players have a secret character that they like to whip out in certain scenarios to get some easy wins. Maybe it's Tor, maybe it's Soldier, maybe it's even Diva. Just let me know in the comments down below. I'm really interested in your secret broken heroes. Any video ideas or concepts that you want to see, please let me know. I would love to make them. Anyways, that's all I have for you today. I'm Coach Mills, and until next time.